here with Tormented director Takashi Shimizu, and how's it going?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Good, good. The first thing, Tormented is basically a horror film, a psychological horror film about a family who's tormented by a living, moving rabbit.
Uh, yes. I don't know why the rabbit.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
that was my first question. What is it about the rabbit that makes it much scarier than another animal?
This film is actually my second movie, second 3D movie, because this was actually a 3D movie. Although it's screened in 2D here in Dallas. My first 3D film, it actually had the little rabbit in that first film that's called The Shock Labyrinth. And the producer of the movie, we worked with the same staff and the producer for this movie as well. And the producer said, "Do you want to make a sequel after I did the first movie, The Shock Labyrinth?" And I said, "I don't want to do a sequel, but I'll be interested in doing original story using this little rabbit."
Well, I think that a lot of your movies touch upon similar themes in terms of haunting and possession. Why do you keep going back to those stories?
I was actually not a fan of horror movies when I was a kid until I was about 14 years old. I wasn't able to watch horror movies. But when I became a director, the first movie that I was offered to do was The Grudge, and that was a horror movie. So after I did that, that was a big hit. So all the other offers that came were just horror movies, and people thought that I was just good at directing horror. So the offer kept rolling in. That was all horror movies.
I saw in an interview maybe a year or two ago that despite the fact that you've done all of these horror movies, you'd like to break out and maybe do something different, maybe comedy or something else. Are you still considering that?
I've always wanted to branch out and do other stuff than horror, and I always wanted to do comedy. I've done a lot of TV stories that were comedies, but those are also horror comedy. So it's still horror tagged along to my work. But what I'm working on right now in LA is a horror movie as well. But the next movie that I'm going to do in Japan is a fantasy.
What's the difference between creating a film for an American audience and a Japanese audience?
American audience seems to like jumpy, scary movie, like somebody jumps out of like nowhere, or like all of a sudden the volume of the sound goes up, and that's how American movies seem to scare people. And American producers tell me that I need to include those elements, a lot more of those elements in my movies. But Japanese audience, that's not really scary to them. What's scary is something that lingers psychologically in the background of your, at the back of your head after you leave the movie theaters. That you see somebody standing in the background that doesn't do anything, but it's the existence of that person is still scary to them. So that's a big difference.
How do you keep, I guess speaking more to an American audience, how do you keep your actors looking afraid on set? Because they obviously know it's not real, and they're not part of the film. They're just, they're not an active participant at that point. So how do you invoke that emotion?
Yeah.
It depends on the actors. There are some actors that have a really keen sense of what director wants, and others that you can keep telling them what you want, but they never get it. For those people who don't really get it and can't really give me the reaction that I want, I would tell them to relax. I would just tell them to take a break. And then when the actor relaxes, that's when I try to scare them. And then tell them that, that's how, you're scared. That's what I want you to do.
Throughout the film, you sort of play with light in an interesting way. There's lots of dark scenes set off by lighter scenes, like on the merry-go-round. What was your thought behind that, and how did you use that?
That has a lot to do with the
この映画は
cinematographer that I
ちょっ
worked
と
with
珍
on
し
this
くて
film, which
僕
is Christopher
だけ
Doyle.
で作った気がして
Very,
ないん
very
です
accomplished,
っていうのは
famous
DP が
cinematographer.
世界的
His
に有名な
artistic
クリストファー・ドイル
sense
っていう
and his
やつで
vision,
彼しか持ってないセンスと
that's
才能
what
があっ
created
て
that image
その分言うこ
on
と
the
聞かないし
screen,
すごい
as
クレイ
well
ジーで
as his
とっ
artistic
てもやり
sense
づらかったけ
and
ど
his vision of the
でも
movie and my
彼の
vision of the
やっぱり
movie
カメラマンとしての
collaborated
照明
on
と
those,
カ
bringing
メラ
out
ワー
those
クのセン
elements
ス
in
が
the movie.
あるのでそれと僕のホラーのセンスが合わさった不思議な映画です。
What can you tell us about 7500? It's coming out soon.
いや今まさにロサンゼルス
It's
で編集中
we're in a post-production stage right now for 7500,
ど
but
飛行機の中で
it's a film about
起こ
people on
る
the plane
密室
that happens from the beginning to the end. It all
頭の中を
happens
知り
in
ま
the
せん飛行機の
plane.
中しか
So
シーンはないですでその中で一体
I
何が
want
あったの
people
か
to
っていう
feel that
話
they
を
will never want to get on the plane after seeing
でき
this
るだ
movie.
けこの映画を見た人が二度と飛行機に乗りたくなくなるような映画にしたいと思ってます。
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you so much.